Good morning. Welcome to the virtual worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula. My name is Steve Johnson, and I'm currently serving as a member of our church's Board of Trustees. We are a congregation of different ages, races, classes, religious and sexual orientations, gender identities, and political views. Our purpose is to change our own lives, even as we work to change the world around us through love, learning, and service to others. If you are a visitor with us today, please fill out our virtual visitor card. You can find the link in the Zoom chat box or on the church's website. You can also view past services on our church's website. Our worship theme for this month is Holding History. Today's service, entitled Origin Stories, is led by sabbatical minister Susan Pantea and worship associate Micah Forstein. Have you checked out the weekly e-news lately? The weekly e-news contains information about many timely activities here at UUCMP. It is available on the church's website and via email. The latest e-news, dated Wednesday, November 17th, lists many upcoming meetings and events, social justice calls to action, and all the religious exploration activities this week. If you are not receiving the e-news in your email, you can subscribe on our website or by contacting church staff. The Reopening Task Force invites all UUCMP members and friends to tell us how you feel about coming back to live worship in our sanctuary, given the various COVID safety measures and your particular situation. Our brief survey on the topic, which should take less than 15 minutes to complete, will be available on the church website until November 28th. A paper copy will be mailed to those who prefer that medium. Nominations are being accepted for the 2022 Shared Plate recipients, now through November 27th. Please submit your nomination of a nonprofit organization you feel is deserving of our monthly shared collection. We will vote on the nominations at our next social justice meeting December 5th. Please plan to attend the December 5th meeting to defend your nomination. See our weekly newsletter and website for more information. Our shared offering recipient for November is Dorothy's Place in Salinas. Checks made out to UUCMP with Dorothy's Place in the memo line will support this important group. Founded in 1982 by a small group of Catholic worker volunteers, this organization exists to serve marginalized neighbors throughout Monterey County and to provide healthy, sustainable life in permanent housing. And now, please enjoy our musical prelude.
Our call to worship this morning is by the Reverend Marge Kipe, who served this congregation for many years. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves to be at home, here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other. Come, let us worship together.
And now please join as we sing There Is a Love, led in 3 parts by the choir.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all I rest in. This love, there is love holding me. There is love in all that I love. There is love holding all I rest in. This holding all I rest in. Holding us. There is love holding all that we love. There is love holding us. There is love holding us. We rest in this holding on. We rest in this
We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love.
We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Our story for all ages this morning is The Stuff of Stars by Marion Dane Bauer, illustrated by Equa Holmes. And this is how the story goes. In the dark, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, a speck floated, invisible as thought, weighty as God. There was yet no time, there was yet no space, no up, no down, no edge, no center. No earth with soaring hawks, scuttling beetles, trees reaching for the sky. There was no sky, no you, no me, only the speck, waiting, waiting. And then the beginning of all beginnings went bang! And in a trillionth of a second, our universe was born. A cloud of gas unfolded, unfurled, zigged, zagged, stretched, collided, expanded, expanded, expanded. Bits bumped, gathered, fused. And throughout the cosmos, stars caught fire, trillions of stars, but still no planets to attend those stars. And if no planets, then no oceans, no mountains, no hippopotami, no violets blooming in a shady wood, no crickets singing to the night, no day, no night. The stars burned and burned. They burned so long and so hot that some of them exploded, flinging stardust everywhere. And the ash of those dying stars gathered into planets, and the planets circled other stars. But still, no bluebirds, no butterflies, still no snails, no giraffes, still no you, no me. The planets closest to their star stayed very hot. The ones far away grew very cold. But one lucky planet, a fragile blue ball we call Earth, was neither too far nor too near. It circled its yellow star, the one we call the sun, from just the right distance and with just the right tilt to be sometimes warm, sometimes cool. Perfect for turning that starry stuff into mitochondria, jellyfish, spiders, into ferns and sharks, into daisies and galloping horses. Again and again, stardust gave birth to stardust. Dinosaurs lived and died, making room for humans. Our great-great-great-grandparents and all before them lived and died, making room for more and more children. And then one day, in the dark, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, another speck floated, invisible as dreams, special as love, waiting, waiting, dividing, changing, growing, until at last you burst into the world. You took a big breath of some air once breathed by woolly mammoths. You cried tears that were once salty seas. Your hair once the carbon in a leaf. You and the velvet moss, the caterpillars, the lions. You and the singing whales, the larks, the frogs. You and me loving you. All of us, the stuff of stars.
At night, when we look up at the stars, we are looking back into the past. As a child, I watched Neil Armstrong land on the moon. The photons that share my birthday were born near the fences of our immediate stellar neighborhood of approximately 100 stars. It's hard to imagine that our own sunlight, at the distance of 58 light years, is hard to see even with a telescope. My mother just celebrated her 84th birthday. I am grateful to her for the childhood home she provided. The starlight that shares her birthday may come from a star with a planet that one day may provide another home for us, as it holds the closest Earth-like planet. Astonishingly, there are about 800 stars we can see with the naked eye, whose light was born when my Russian great-grandmother was, who I was blessed to know as a child. In her youth, we humans thought our universe was only as large as the Milky Way. About 440 years ago, the light from the Seven Sisters, or Pleiades cluster, started its celestial journey when my ancestor, Chief Rabbi Meir Katzenelnbogen, lived in Padua, Italy, and at the same time, Galileo was in the same city using the first telescope. I don't have genealogical evidence beyond 500 years, but I do know that my honored ancestors were part of the Jewish diaspora about 3,000 years ago. Photons from M57, or the Ring Nebula, started their journey to us about that same time. To go before my known genealogy, I must rely on my DNA. According to 23andMe, my genetic line, W, originated in the Mideast some 20,000 years ago. Photons born during that time are now just reaching us from V838 Manta Certos, a red star, which the Hubble telescope caught over 4 years as it explodes. Every person now living can trace our lineage back to the mother of us all, the beginning of humanity, who we believed lived between 150 and 200,000 years ago. I wonder what skies were like then, looking up at Eastern Africa, close to where Dr. Leakey found Lucy. What is amazing to me is that photons from our closest galactic neighbor, the Large Magellanic Cloud, just left their origins about the same time as we became human, for us to witness today. It fills me with awe to consider that much of the starlight, photons, that are reaching us today started their journey before we humans, or even the Earth and Sun, even existed. I believe that it is a gift that we are able to remember and to honor our ancestors, and to witness and honor the starlight from stars that no longer exist. So, this evening, when you are looking up at the stars, remember and be grateful to your ancestors, who, like the stars themselves, shined as their light traveled through time.
And now please join us as we sing Far Rolling Voices.
Far rolling voices of the sea chant loud upon the shore. They tell the ancient mystery of God forevermore. Newborn, the sun in glory rides across the heavenly fields. The starry host in silence bides, and to the morning yields. White seabirds wheel against the sky, companioned with the dawn. God lift our winging souls on high, sharing creation's morn. Your universal waters sweep upon the endless strands. Your love and mercy ever keep us searching all thy lands.
This is the time we take each week to pause for a moment, take a breath, and reflect on what has been happening in our lives over the past few days, and what has been happening in the lives of those we love and care about, whether nearby or far away. Our Caring Network shares a joy with us today. A joy for Liam Nichols, who is turning 11. Happy birthday. We all bring our personal joys and sorrows with us that are on our minds and in our hearts. We will now drop a few pebbles representing your individual joys and concerns into our shared waters of love and support. During this time, if you have a milestone or joy or sorrow you would like to share with those on Zoom today, you may do so in the chat. You may also contact the Caring Network privately. Let us now enter into a time of prayer, meditation, reflection, with these words from the Reverend Gary Kowalski. Our time is short here on the earth. Around us swirl immensities of time and space, a universe infinite in all directions. How small our hopes and cares seem amid the panorama of creation. Yet we are not separate from the cosmos, but have evolved and grown out of it, like the leaves of a tree or the waves upon a sea. And our thoughts are its thoughts. Our lives a manifestation of never-ending vitality. Our spirits a microcosm of the beauty and creativity of the whole. Fill us then with reverence and compassion for all who are our kin, cloud and sun, sibling and cousin, the multitude of beings who share this improbable and never to be repeated moment. All expressions, like ourselves, of the mind at large, the spirit at play, the dynamism at work, in whom we live and move, and whom we will never know. Now is the time for a morning offering. We encourage you to think about your financial support for this church and the resources the church needs to do its good work. We encourage you to write a check and drop it in the mail, or use the donate button on the church's website. We also encourage you to donate to our shared offering recipient for November, Dorothy's Place. And now please enjoy our offertory music.
Our first reading is an essay I wrote in response to the saying by Heraclitus, "A person cannot step into the same river twice." I believe he meant that everything in this world is changing. It's impermanent. Nothing is forever. I make sense of this by understanding that the universe won't always be here. It will either rip itself apart, collapse in on itself, or will become perfect entropy and dissolve into chaos. I believe he was right, because you are constantly growing and your cells are replacing themselves, and rivers are constantly changing and bending. For example, our star will only be here for another 5 billion years, and the universe will be around for trillions to the power of trillions and so forth years. And even on a scale of around 1,000 years, landscape can change dramatically, like the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River that flows through it. I think that, by pondering this, he wanted us to appreciate every moment and every aspect of life, because everything is changing constantly. After every rainstorm, after every tornado, after every earthquake, and after even the smallest of steps, billions, if not quintillions, of atoms shift positions and are changed. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is forever.
Our second reading comes from episode 2 of Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth, a TV series that came out in the late 1980s. In this episode, Campbell and Bill Moyers compare similarities among origin stories in many traditions. Michael will read Moyers' comments, and I will read Campbell's.
Genesis chapter 1. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply."
And now this from the legend of the Basari people of West Africa. Onumbote made a human being. Its name was man. Onumbote next made all antelope, named Antelope. Onumbote made a snake named Snake. And Onumbote said to them, "The earth has not yet been pounded. You must pound the ground smooth where you are sitting." Onumbote gave them seeds of all kinds and said, "Go plant these."
And Genesis chapter 1. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
And from the Hindu Upanishads. Then he realized, "I indeed am this creation, for I have poured it forth from myself." In that way, he became this creation. And verily, he who knows this becomes in this creation a creator. That's the clincher here. When you know this, then you've identified with the creative principle yourself, which is the God power in the world, which means you. It's beautiful.
What do you think we're looking for when we subscribe to one of these stories of creation?
Well, I think what we're looking for is a way of experiencing the world in which we are living that will open to us the transcendent that informs it, and at the same time informs ourselves within it. That's what people want. That's what the soul asks for.
You mean we're looking for some accord with the mystery that informs all things? What you call that vast ground of silence, which we all share?
Yes, but not only to find it, but to find it actually in our environment, in our world, to recognize it, to have some kind of instruction that will enable us to see the divine presence.
In the world and in us.
Do you see what I mean? This story that we've just read, "I see that I am this creation," says the God. When you see that God says he is the creation, and then you are a creature, well, the God is within you and the man you're talking to also. And so there's that realization, two aspects of the one divinity.
On a foggy July day in 2012, I stood at one of the most sacred spots in my world. This stretch of rocky shore below a cow pasture might not look all that impressive to most folks, especially on a gray day when the sea just beyond is heard more than seen. Yet the rocky outcrop at Sycamore Point on the east coast of Scotland is among the most important of places to geologists because of what it reveals about Earth history. Today, it is widely accepted that Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. But until the late 18th century, it was widely believed, at least in the Christian world, that the Earth was less than 6,000 years old. The evidence for that largely came from the Bible and other historic documents. From such evidence, James Ussher, Archbishop of the Church of Ireland in the mid-1600s, determined that creation began in the year 4004 BC, on October 22nd. Scientists could get into a lot of trouble for professing the heresy that the Earth was any older than that. Yet there was plenty of evidence that the Earth was, in fact, much older, and a few sharp souls couldn't help but notice. In the late 1700s, James Hutton, a Scottish naturalist and farmer, observed that each year floodwaters deposited a thin layer of soil on his fields. He compared these thin layers to the thick layers of sandstone and mudstone exposed in the hills around his land. And he got to thinking, if these sandstones represent the slow deposition of sand year after year, it must have taken a really, really long time to build up those hillsides. And the process of transforming sediment into rock must have taken time too. He also noticed that some sandstone layers were tilted, while others were flat-lying. What forces caused them to tilt, and how long did that take? Now, based on his observations of current Earth processes and the rocks in eastern Scotland, he developed an idea of how those rocks came to be. He used those ideas to predict what he would find along the shore. Rocks of two distinctly different ages juxtaposed against each other. So in 1788, he set off on a boat with his friends, John Playfair and Sir James Hall, to find it. And find it they did. A series of tilted sandstone beds called greywackies, standing almost vertically, capped by nearly flat-lying layers of sandstone. As they stood on that shore, Hutton read an amazing tale from the rock record. He said, the rocks represent sediment that had been deposited in thin layers over time. This is the greywackie that's vertical now. The layers were buried under pressure, and pressure and heat caused them to lithify or turn into rock. The rock layers were folded by more pressure, and then the tilted or folded layers were uncovered by the slow process of erosion. But that is only part of the story. Next, new sediment was deposited in layers on the old erosional surface. Eventually, the thick new pile of sand was buried, lithified, tilted slightly, and then uplifted and eroded again into the landform he and his companions now stood on. Deposition, burial, deformation, uplift, and erosion in 2 cycles. There's no way this could have taken just 6,000 years. No way. As Hutton said, of this whole process, we find no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end. And Playfair got it. He later said, the mind seemed to grow giddy by looking so far into the abyss of time. When I think of Sycamore Point and all that happened here, I am overwhelmed by three awarenesses. The first is the unceasing dynamic processes that make Earth seem almost alive. The second is the incredible vastness of time that makes human lifespans, like mine, seem minuscule and insignificant. The third is the awesome capacity for the human mind to read the rock record, contemplate deep time, and comprehend, at least to some extent, our place in the universe. Standing in that spot where Hutton stood 224 years before, I was moved to tears. Of course, Hutton didn't get it all right. The study of the Earth, the solar system, the universe has evolved far beyond his limited knowledge and techniques, so that now geologists know that the oldest rocks at Sycamore Point are 425 million years old. And scientists have observed the vestige of the beginning of the universe and can imagine about the prospect of an end. As we learn more and more about the universe, the Earth, and Earth's inhabitants, we may have better scientific explanations of where we come from and where we are going. But what does all that mean in a spiritual sense? And how does that knowledge impact our thoughts, our interactions, and our sense of place? A couple years ago, I came across an amazing book, Journey of the Universe, by Brian Swimme and Mary Evelyn Tucker. In a scant 108 pages, the authors present an origin story that synthesizes what is known about the universe in a way that is every bit as awe-inspiring for me as Genesis or the Upanishads may be for others. They write, "The great discovery of contemporary science is that the universe is not simply a place, it is a story in which we are immersed, to which we belong, and out of which we arose. The story has the power to awaken us more deeply to who we are. We are the universe in the form of a human. And every time we are drawn to look up into the night sky and reflect on the awesome beauty of the universe, we are actually the universe reflecting on itself. And this changes everything." So they write. This story is replete with twists and turns, serendipitous events without which Earth and Earth's inhabitants would not be. Although it is not a story of intelligent design, it is a story of elegance and creativity at all levels of existence. Let's imagine the beginning, the Big Bang that caused the immediate expansion of energy, or of matter rather, from a tiny spark. Did you know that if the rate of expansion had been slower, even a tiny % slower, matter would have just recollapsed? If it had been any faster, the matter would have spread so quickly, too quickly, for attraction to bring bits together to form structures. Now, at first, all matter was a thick soup of undifferentiated charged particles, but at some point, for reasons not well understood, even today, something caused those protons and electrons to join together. At that point, the universe went from a foggy plasma to flashes of light as particles combined, eventually building stars and galaxies. There are so many more events that occurred because conditions were just right for them. Events that allowed for more complexity, more creativity. Events that led to life. There's the incredible dance of gravity and expansion of stars that created elements beyond just hydrogen and helium. The dynamic heating and cooling of Earth that eventually led to oceans on the surface, which in turn cradled life. Or the way that cells adapt to the environment through a process of trial and error that leads, again, to more complex and amazing forms. The knowledge that life on Earth has thrived for 4 billion years, despite the fact that the sun's temperature has increased by 25% during that time. It's mind-boggling. Complex systems on Earth actually changed Earth's atmosphere in ways that regulated surface temperatures as the sun got hotter, thus maintaining conditions suitable for life. And what allowed life forms to change? Trial and error? Yes, as various genetic mutations survived or died in response to changing conditions, but also the amazing genetic code that preserved those successful mutations so they could be passed down. All of these ideas led Swim and Tucker to suggest, quote, perhaps the nature of the universe as a whole is shaped by the creativity of its parts, unquote. And like the genetic code, there's the animal mind, which also records successful strategies and habits that are passed down to its offspring. We humans, with our complex brains, are where our understanding of the universe resides. We influence the evolution of humans and also the evolution of the systems of Earth, and maybe far beyond Earth as well. Perhaps Earth and all of us are part of that continually evolving creativity of the universe. The author's muse, could it be that our deep destiny is to bring forth a new coherence within the planet as a whole, as the human community learns to align itself with the underlying dynamics of Earth's life? One key aspect of the universal story is how various individual elements or parts interact with one another. Astrophysicist Jedediah Eisler says great things happen at intersections. Stars are born at the messy intersection of gas and dust, instigated by gravity's irrevocable pull. Stars die by the same intersection, this time flung outward in violent collision of smaller atoms, intersecting and effectively fusing into altogether new and heavier things. As an African-American woman physicist, Eisler knows a lot about intersections and intersectionality. She points out that those who have lived at the intersections are used to seeing things multiple ways and are well equipped to bring diverse perspectives to the multifaceted, multidisciplinary problems that face us today. Problems of pandemics and climate change, genetic editing, and equity. What if the drive around us, the scientific drive to understand the world, isn't an urge to isolate and categorize, but an urge to understand and to relate? What if the story of the universe, the story of how all things are connected in a great creative unfolding, is another way to recognize the mystery, the divine in all things? How might that awareness motivate us to respond? The Earth as a community of organisms has adapted to changing conditions for 4 billion years in a manner that sustains life. Today, the global community faces global climate disruption that is already causing some of our Earth family to go extinct. What might happen if we humans use our creativity, our technology, our awareness of our interdependence to maintain the comfort zone for life on this planet? What might happen if we don't? Standing at Sychar Point with the ghost of Hutton, gazing back 224 years and 425 million years, That was a transcendent experience for me. My knowledge of geology and the history of scientific thought, the story of the story, gave me an insight into something so much bigger than myself that I was flooded with awe and delight at the miracle of it all. The story of the universe may not be your origin story, but it is mine. It is at the intersection of science and spirituality where dogma and creed are not required, only a sense of wonder. May we experience the world with a sense of wonder and belonging. May we realize all living things are siblings, the stars are our ancestors, and the future is in our hands. Amen.
Far beyond the grasp of hands, or light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind. There find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined. Like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding, the message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings, in the oneness of everything. Peace is in the dance of trees, who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and all mysteries can be believed. Songs of lives long past the touch our own are written in the earth ever giving, and now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living, for the oneness of everything. Still we seek to find the truth that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Vast and immeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly designed. Oh, passing years, just might I know the faith that winters in the heart to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
We extinguish this chalice, but take its light into our lives, to be the presence of love in the midst of fear, the voice of hope in the face of despair, and the hands of justice, restoring a world worthy of our children.
And now please join hands or imagine taking someone's hand for our benediction. As we go forth today, may we remember that we are inextricably linked to each other, that we are all part of this great, big thing. May we be filled with reverence and compassion for all our kin. May our actions reflect our roles as co-creators in the universal dance. And may we find moments that make us exclaim that most basic of prayers, wow. May it be so. Amen. And now, please enjoy our postlude.
From ages on, the sun, the stars, the ancient trees were born or bloomed or burst to life to sing our praise.